been to quite a few Nerf wars now, and there's one Nerf ammo type I haven't seen show up all that often, if not ever. It's not even really that obscure. There are still blasters coming out that shoot this ammo, and that is, of course, the Nerf Rebelle arrow. Or I guess it's not fair to call it Rebelle, because the Zombie Strike Dreadbolt's coming out, and that thing looks awesome, and it uses this exact same projectile. I almost said dart there, because I'm used to Nerf and darts, or even I call it the Revival. The point is, they're not very common. People don't really use them. It's not like they fly bad or anything like that. It's just most of the blasters based around them have been pretty much hot garbage. The Agent bow had some issues. The Aero Revolution bow was absolute travesty. There was a crossbow I can't even remember the name of. And then the wing speed bow, which I was really excited for when I first saw it, but then I realized it's basically the crossbow without the whole catch mechanism to bit of a trigger to control it. I was excited because I thought it'd be a folding bow, and that would be cool. And then I realized how that would never work with Nerf because they're too cheap to make anything that would really stand up to their... I'm getting way off topic. But the point is, nobody uses these things. They're pretty darn good for what they are. They have rubber fletchings on them. They have, nice rubber parts all over them. It's flexible, but it's not easy to break. It could probably take a couple of steps or so, and it's incredibly safe and packs quite a punch and flies pretty far. So when Jake found a new blaster that nobody really paid attention to or cared about, that came out like the end of December last year, and it's now, hitting the middle of April. You asked me if I wanted to take a look at it, and since I've never had one of these blasters personally, I figured I would in this form of the Nerf Rebelle Tribute Bow. When I saw this thing, I thought it was just going to be a reskin of the Agent bow, but it turns out it's actually a bit different because it's quite a bit shorter. I mean, this thing's pretty small, which is cool. I mean, one of the arms isn't on there, but for being a bow, it's like a little tiny short bow. That's pretty cool. I'm actually kind of excited now, and I've already seen him unbox one of these and shoot it around outside, and he immediately lost one of the arrows on top of my roof, so with all the storms, I'm wondering if that ever came down. I'll have to go take a look for it one of these days when it's dry here in Washington, which is going to be never. But the point is, let's take a look at this thing and see what it can offer us. Yes, I know, it's another bow, but who knows, this one might actually be somewhat useful because, again, it's relatively compact and yet has a 85-foot range claim up here behind the beautiful raw sticker, which is never good. That usually means that the blaster has been cleared out, which Jake paid the princely sum of 7 American pesos for. And yeah, it's pretty much what you expect it to be. Nothing too special. Comes with 2 arrows, which is, again, pretty nice. It does advertise the flip side, which is the Flip Fury without the trigger. The corner sight, which I did a review on, which I really like, but it's really hard to mod. I even tried to single mine, and the way the priming is set up, it's just not capable of doing anything without some serious redesigning. And the Epic Action Bow, which is literally a jolt on a string, and no, I'm not interested in that one at all. And then it's pretty as simple as it could go. How it works, I mean, it literally just shows pictures. You put an arrow in there, you pull it back, and you let it go, and it fires. And hey, she actually is shooting it like a real arrow, which is kind of interesting. Is arrow storage on the side of it? Quite a bit of arrow storage, but that is everything besides a little range thing down here, which says 80% of its shots landed about 90 feet. And with this kind of thing, you can kind of believe it. So let's crack this boy open and see what's actually in here. Spoilers, it's a bow. And the instructions, which doesn't really offer us probably anything that we don't already know. It's a lot more in-depth than the actual back of the box, but it's a bow. We can figure this out. And then, of course, here is the bow in question. One of the arms is, not connected for the sake of packaging, and to connect it, you just slide it into here. So you're gonna stretch it out, which has quite a bit of force on it, and then slide it in there. And theoretically, it's never supposed to come out ever again. And again, this thing is mighty small for what it's supposed to be. The grip is very comfortable, and there is arrow storage all over it, which is, I'm guessing something like that. Yep, works just like that. We actually have 3 arrows on here, so you can set the 3 arrows. They're not super good. They work. The ones right here work a heck of a lot better than the ones on the end, and there's actually a bunch on that side. and nothing on that side. So 6 slots for arrows, which is kind of good. And, well, it's a bow. I don't know how many times I have to say that until people believe me, but it's a bow. The string is very taut. That's actually pretty darn good. I'm excited to see what this thing can do. So let's pick it up and see how well she fires. Well, I've had my fun with the Rebelle Tribute Bow, but I guess the question for today is, could this thing suck? And surprisingly, I'm going to enthusiastically say no! The Rebelle Tribute Bow, even at its full price of, what, like 15 bucks at Walmart.com right now, maybe even Amazon, I didn't check Amazon, but the point is, it's darn fun for what it is, and from like a hobby, like performance competitive standpoint, there's a good use for something like this, because it does in fact work. It works a heck of a lot better than the crossbow thing. I still don't know the name of that. The Agent Bow, the Arrow Revolution Bow, even though Jake kind of fixed that thing, this is a heck of a lot more intuitive and easier to pick up and use. I'm an amateur archer, and I did have a lot of issues with it kind of either shooting way too high up or way too far to the right. Surprisingly, if I aim the blaster down and to the left, it happens to shoot exactly where I want it to go. So it's one of those things where I think if you used it a whole lot, you could definitely get a feel for where the arrow is going to go. And yeah, it's a blaster you need to practice with, but just like using a bow in Rust, and I'm starting to get really scared because like every other comparison I make is to Rust, I might have a problem. Please send help. It's extremely satisfying. I really want to run one of these now, just to hopefully get a tag with one of the arrows, because the bow is my favorite weapon in Rust, so this felt right at home. And if you want to use it for something like, say, a secondary, well, it's extremely small. It's very easy to hang off your hip or something like that. It wouldn't get a whole lot in the way. It is about the size of like an Alpha Trooper, but that's not too bad in my opinion. It's definitely usable for something like that. The performance is, like I said, pretty much up there, and if you wanted to use it as a primary to, say, shoot something that nobody else is probably going to be able to shoot back, unless you're facing against Captain Xavier, of course, with his crazy amalgamation of parts that he could put on Ire, this is one of those things, because probably nobody else is going to be using arrows, and if you do use arrows, maybe you don't want to lug around your big old Agent Bow or anything like that, but you would like to use something as a secondary to use all those arrows you already have. This is going to fit that bill. I am very enthusiastic with this. I keep calling it a blaster, but I guess it's a bow blaster, something like that. The Rebelle Tribute Bow gets a solid pass from me, even if you pick it up for the retail price of like $15. And like I said, Jake picked this up at a Ross, which is pretty much a liquidation store at this point, for $7. I can't recommend it any more than that. It's definitely worth picking up if you can get it for that. It works a heck of a lot better than other things I've tested in this, but of course, my whole problem is that I haven't used these a whole lot, so your mileage may vary if you're very good on the bow things, but I'll have to go with Jake's, entire system in that he said this was awesome, and I'm tending to agree with him. The grip is very comfortable, but it is really squishing it there. My hands are pretty chubby, but they are small-ish. And yeah, that does kind of almost cross the line, but loading it, using it, all worked really well. The only issue I really had that, of course, this end arrow holder doesn't work all that well, and I had a very big issue trying to fire it like this. It didn't really seem to, it just worked perfectly, so what do I know? Never mind, that's great. That was the best shot I've had pretty much all night. So yeah, Rebelle tribute bow. That was surprisingly good. I want one now. I'm probably going to see if I can't get my hands on one and a couple of arrows. And now I'm even more excited to see what the Zombie Strike Dreadbolt can offer me. I'm Walcom S7. Let me know what you think about this blaster down in the comment section below. Did I get it right? Does it actually suck? Well, that's completely up to your opinion. I'm just giving you mine, and it's pretty glowing. Thank you very much for watching this video, and of course, I hope to see you in an entirely different one. And around here, it's usually something way different.